Welcome to the Providence College Podcast. Subscribe to the show on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and Google Play. If you like what you hear, please review and share with others. Email podcast@providence.edu with questions or comments. Go Friars!
Hello and welcome to the Providence College Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Chittum, and I'm joined as always by PC producer and videographer Chris Judge, class of 05. Here at the PC Podcast, it's our job to bring you interesting stories from around the Friar community, and today we are fortunate to have Brian Kozak, a junior here at PC and a finance major. In a second, we'll detail all the things that Brian is involved in. As you'll see soon, it is a full laundry list of things. So, Brian, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's great to have you, and I'm just going to get into it real quick. We can talk about this stuff one by one later on, but it really is an extraordinary list. I just mentioned you're a finance major here at PC. In addition to that, you're the junior executive board member of the Finance Society. You are the president and founder of the men's soccer team, the men's club soccer team. You're involved with the Executive Mentor Program, the Wall Street Council, the Leadership Fellows Program. You helped at the San Miguel School, and you were actually an urban action participant before your freshman year started. So quite a long list of things. Were you always this active?
In high school, yes, but definitely more in college.
Okay.
I find myself having more time just kind of getting myself involved in school as best as I could.
Now, was that part of the plan when you were kind of started the college process and were looking at schools? Did you research this stuff, or did you have it in your head like, hey, I'm going to be really involved as a college student, even more so than in high school?
Well, yeah, so in high school I played 3 sports, which kind of took up most of my time, and I knew that playing a sport and, being active both after school and in school kind of helped my grades. So I figured that if I was more involved on campus, then that too would kind of follow, and it did, so.
And you're in a position which is the same for a lot of students here at PC, because it really is a legacy school in a lot of ways, where you have, if your father or mother came to PC, you see a lot of kids will apply. And in your case, that wasn't necessarily what happened, but your older brother came here to PC.
Right.
So did that influence the decision at all?
Absolutely. But when he actually toured the school, I went with him. And he actually ended up hating the school, but right when I stepped foot on campus, I knew I loved this place. So I want to say my decision was made before his, but he'll never let me have that.
Oh, that's hysterical. Oh, that's pretty funny. Obviously, he turned it around, and he ended up coming to PC.
Yeah.
And he's 2 years older than you. Correct?
He is, correct.
And that's Stephen Kozak for everyone who's listening now. But getting back to you, as a finance major, and we can start anywhere, but from a topical standpoint, this week's a big day in PC. This week is a big week in PC history.
Yes, it is.
We have the opening of the Art Patricia Ryan School for Business. It's a brand new facility here on campus. We were talking earlier, you haven't had a class in there yet because one of your classes was canceled this week. But what has your experience been so far in the building, and how has it, I guess, met or exceeded, or maybe not even come up to your expectation level? How did your expectation level come close to matching what you've seen so far?
Sure. So it's one of the newer schools or schools on campus, or buildings on campus, and it's absolutely beautiful. From like top to bottom, it's stunning, and you could see how much care was into building school. All the rooms are very high tech. It makes you feel like you're in like a business setting. So, one of the letdowns, I was talking to my friend about it, they don't have a ticker room, with like the stocks going across where you would see it on Wall Street, but everything there is really just like perfect for, and I'm a huge fan of it. There's so much care into the school, and I'm really excited.
Now, when you were touring other colleges, and you mentioned just a second ago that when you were looking at PC, kind of through your brother's eyes when he was taking tours, like you immediately loved it. But I'm assuming you visit other schools as well.
Right.
And did you notice the difference in the business school buildings between PC and other schools, during that process?
Sure. So when I was touring, the only building that PC had that was really like a newer building was Ruane. Slavin was stunning as well. But other schools that I toured were like Bentley, Bryant, Loyola, and they kind of had that new building feel. A lot of the business buildings that they had were very modern, very up to date. A lot of really preparing you for Wall Street or life after college. And I think that Providence realized that they had to compete and get to where they were against their competitors. And this new school is a great start.
That's a good way of putting it. That's for sure. And when you talk about Wall Street a second ago, you're part of this new Wall Street club that was founded this year, which is a kind of a nice combination of alumni and current students. So if you could just talk, briefly, what it is and how you got involved in that.
Sure. So the club that you're speaking about is the Wall Street Council. I got an email sent to me. It was sent to most of the junior executive boards and executive board members on the Finance Society. Just it's a club where the individuals who graduated in the past, who are on Wall Street or very active in the markets, reach back to the school and give back their advice. The first event that we had was at Credit Suisse, and the director of FX trading, Chris Hatton, he spoke, and there was 2 analysts that he brought with him just to kind of talk about the FX markets, how the currencies are moving and what's driving everything, and how I guess currencies are like really the foundation of the entire market. And that was super interesting. And we have another event coming in March. Same kind of thing, different speaker, but definitely something I'm looking forward to.
Right, and that's exactly right. And in fact, I remember I went to I think it was the kind of precursor, I guess. We had another one in the fall where Peter Benzie, who's a trustee, spoke to the group about the impact of the election could have on markets and things like that, which, and this is Inauguration Day. This is going to be broadcast in 2 weeks, but at the time, that was a very, topical conversation that was had. And right. I think that's part of the reason for the group, right? You have these different dynamics, right? Getting the students to get to know some of the alums who are in the space that they want to go through, but at the same time, almost like a professional development piece for everyone involved.
Right.
So that's kind of a nice piece.
No, it's really interesting, and it kind of gives all the finance majors who are interested in working on Wall Street or in the finance industry kind of like to see what they do and how certain global events really do shape the markets, which we don't really get exposed to at Providence just yet.
Right. And you also get the networking piece as well, right?
Right. And actually, the New York City networking night was the night after, so I ended up going to that as well. And Chris spoke again, as well as numerous members from Deutsche Bank, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs. A lot of PC alumni really came out to support the future Friars at a college.
Now, when you see these high-achieving alums who are in an industry that you want to get into, I'm assuming in the next couple of years, how does that influence kind of your progression to kind of get there, and how do you take that as an example and work back from there?
Sure. So one thing to really think about, and it kind of was one of my decisions, was Providence College isn't that renowned for having the best, business students. We don't have that many guys on Wall Street coming out of Providence College. But to see these people that did make it there was kind of something that, pushes me, showing that it is achievable. We're not a Wharton School of Business, but to see that they are there and to see all the kids in the Wall Street Council want to get there, it was extremely reassuring, just kind of be able to think that is achievable going forward. So that's definitely something I'm looking forward to. Now,
did they speak to that at all? Kind of the competition involved in getting to that point?
Yeah, they did. They're talking people coming out of Wharton or like UNC Chapel Hill, those type of schools. They're looking at 3.3, 3.4, and they can probably end up working on Wall Street with the right connection. Providence College doesn't have that luxury. You need to get 3.7 to 3 or 4.0 GPA just to kind of have a shot. But they definitely said they're going to try to give back more, just because they see the motivation in the kids that really do want to, work at that level. So definitely something that's pushing the alumni to help out and the students as well.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I've talked to a couple people, not people who presented that time, but in my travels as a major gift officer through New York, people who work in the industry, and I often hear that the students are capable of doing it, but sometimes they don't realize how competitive it is, because if they're from, say, the New York City area or one of the suburbs outside of New York, for them it's, I want to go work in New York and I've always been there, but all the kids from every other college in America who are in finance want to come as well. So this really has a very competitive industry for a lot of people, especially when they all kind of converge, in a lot of times, into one specific geographic area, as opposed to maybe other industries that are competitive but more spread out nationwide.
Yeah, it is tough. It's extremely tough to, go from Rhode Island all the way to New York. Not many schools or not many companies are looking to recruit in Providence.
Right. Well, hopefully soon.
Yeah.
Brian, you keep doing what you're supposed to be doing, and you're doing a ton. We went through the list. It really is a lot. So for you, when you're going through all of these, you're a strong student, you're on all of these kind of business-related clubs, but at the same time, you started and now are president of the club soccer team. What made you want to get into that when you have all these other things that are kind of taking up your schedule?
Sure. So out of high school, I was extremely involved in soccer. It was my favorite sport. I was a captain my senior year, and I never wanted to get away from soccer. Right when I came to PC as a freshman, I played intramurals, both indoor and outdoor soccer. And I saw the talent level that PC had. We were all extremely gifted soccer players in high school, and then transitioning that into college, it was, something that kids wanted to. They wanted to have the club feel. They wanted to be a part of a team, but they couldn't make the D1 team. And I did try out for the D1 team my freshman year. I didn't end up making it, but I saw the level of competitiveness that intramurals had, and I figured that if these kids could compete that hard in intramurals, they could definitely compete that hard on the club level. And so that went into my decision making, and the process went smoothly. And then we started the team this past fall, and it was just a great experience.
So what is involved with, not just for you as a person who's helping to run it and helping to start it, but just for a normal team member, what is involved commitment-wise and skill-wise to be part of that team?
Sure. So our coach is actually an alumni. He played on the D1 team for 5 years. He was a graduate assistant. So.
And what's his name?
Jeff Akilde. So he was a great player. He captained it his 5th year, and he kind of knows what to look for in like players, and he knows the talent level that is needed to compete at the club level. So he kind of knew where to look, what skill attributes and traits to look for, and he had more decision making over I. I mean, he's much more qualified, but the skill level on the team was very high. But really, it just comes down to the drive and the passion. And we practiced 2 days a week, had games sometimes twice, Saturday and Sunday, but most of the time just one game a weekend. But it's definitely a lot of time. The practices were from 9 to 11:30 at night. So yeah, it's tough, but it was definitely worth it. Everyone seemed to enjoy it.
Obviously, 9 to 11 at night is not your typical practice time for just about any sport. On some level, could that also be viewed as a positive? I would think if you're not fully committed, it's pretty easy to beg off a 9 to 11 o'clock schedule.
Right. No, the kids that were showing up, they wanted to play, and that's kind of something that attributed to our success as a first-year club organization. So,
and as you look into next year, can you already kind of see how many people want to be involved in it from the year 1 to year 2, or when you're not kind of in season or you're kind of preparing for the next season, what's involved in that to kind of keep the momentum going? So
we're actually doing that now, but going back to for our first tryouts in the fall, we had 75 kids come out and try out.
Oh wow.
And we took 27, and I have a good feeling that number's only going to increase. I'm sure those kids that tried out in the fall are going to try it again. We're going to do tryouts in the next coming weeks for the spring team and for next fall. So just to kind of get the the hype around campus about the club soccer team again is definitely something that we're going to be looking forward to.
Now, is that at all impacted by the success of the varsity team? Obviously, 2 years ago, the varsity team went to the Final Four in men's soccer. Then this year they had another great run with a historic comeback against Maryland at Maryland, which was detailed in a podcast a month and a half ago here at the PC podcast. So obviously unprecedented success for them, yet at the same time, how does that impact you guys?
It's something that we're going to kind of base off of. We see their success, and we want to have the success that they have at our club level. Just kind of sitting down and being able to watch those great players play is something that we all benefit from, and especially to have Jeff on our team coaching us, seeing how well they do and kind of transitioning that from the varsity team to our team is extremely helpful. And their success definitely wears off on us. Right.
I believe it. And I'm looking down here. You've given me a list of the things you're involved in. How has the extracurricular stuff, not soccer in this respect, but how has the extracurricular stuff affected you from a learning perspective compared to what you learned kind of within your major in the classroom setting?
Yeah, so it all comes down to like time management, and the extracurricular stuff really did help me with that. Having just going to class every day, you have like 6 hours after class, just doing nothing. You do your homework, and then you're kind of just sitting there. But keeping active, staying on your toes is something that I needed to do as a student in high school and in college. And to kind of get that, I kind of had to get involved as much as I possibly could. and, take it the step further, not just being in a club, but, being in a leadership position on the club. And it was all really helpful. It just kept me very busy.
I can imagine. Our last podcast guest was Dr. Jennifer Van Riet, and she does a lot of things on campus. And one of those things is she's the chair of and helps facilitate the undergraduate research grants that get passed out, amongst not just from a science perspective, but across campus. And we just were speaking a lot about just the engaged learning process of, not the sitting in a lecture type perspective, but learning with an engaged learning intent. And I think you get a lot of that from extracurricular stuff, especially with what not only the networking piece we get from the Wall Street group, but the executive mentor group as well. And then also within the finance society piece. Right. So do you feel like that has not just helped you in terms of maybe job prospects, but enhanced your education as well?
Oh, absolutely. In the finance society, we don't really, we're not learning about, valuating a company or financial modeling. We leave that to our coursework, but the stuff we do talk about that is extremely helpful is what's going on in the world, what's going on in the markets and what's driving what. And that's something we don't get really in a course at Providence College. So just to have that is something because if you go to sit down with someone interviewing you on Wall Street, you need to be up to date on the economy, the global news and everything. And to have that as a club, just grew my education level profoundly.
Now, a lot of this stuff can be easily viewed through the lens of job preparation, and not to minimize that, but it seems like for you this is also just enjoyable. Period. Even if it didn't affect your future job status. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So just to speak on one, the executive mentor program, it was an ability to me to connect to an alumni who has connections outside of the industry that he's in, but to also, give me life advice, what allowed him to get to his status. My executive mentor is Don Naber. He's the senior vice president of risk management at Gilbane Construction. So huge company, and he's extremely busy, just great guy. It was great to just be able to sit down with someone, who's in such a high level position and just kind of have him give me life advice. It goes beyond just kind of preparation for me out of college, but he's like a friend at this point. So it's really good.
Oh, I can imagine. So what's you've done a lot. You're currently doing a lot. Next year is your senior year. Kind of what's on tap for you as you kind of envision the next year and a half at PC?
Oh, man. Graduation's coming up so quickly. It's crazy. But, I'm going to definitely keep involved with all the stuff that I'm doing, continue to go to the networking nights that I've been going to. But, just finding a job, that's the main concern. But I feel pretty confident of where I am. And, going forward, I think it's only going to kind of, grow. I'm definitely going to go for more of a leadership position, try to get on the executive board in some of the clubs that I'm involved in. Just kind of keep me more active, more involved on campus in the clubs that I'm in. But going forward, it's definitely just kind of locking down a job so far, but it's crazy.
Right. Well, what aspect of job preparation are you looking at? Obviously, when you say, all right, I want to work on Wall Street, that's a very broad term. There's a lot of different things that can be involved in that. Have you kind of narrowed down, or do you have particular interests kind of in a more specific area?
I mean, just the hardest part coming out of Providence College is to get on Wall Street. It doesn't matter what firm, or doesn't matter, what position, but just getting into a firm on Wall Street is my biggest concern for me. But just to what goes into preparing that, it's just kind of a lot of, reaching out to alumni. I use LinkedIn a lot, messaging alumni saying, hey, do you have a 15, 20 minutes to just talk on the phone, tell me what you do on a day-to-day basis, and, what you attribute to your success and how you got there. And I've done that plenty of times, and I've reached out to plenty of alumni. The networking nights at Providence College hosts are great resources as well. I've met a ton of great contacts who, put me in touch with people that they know, and you kind of just expand your own network. And just to hear about what those individuals do and how they got there is kind of both narrowing but also widening what I want to do after college.
Right. So what's your say your college experience were to end today? What would you say is the highlight of your Providence College experience?
I really did enjoy making the club soccer team. We have a great group of guys on our squad. And, leaving with a legacy that's probably going to stand, for a long time is kind of, a big deal for me. And a lot of work went into it, and a lot of good has come out of it. So I'm happy with that.
I can imagine. So if anyone's interested in club soccer, what's the best way for them to either get a hold of you or get a hold of the team if they want more information?
Sure. So you guys could just email me. My Friars email is bkozak1 at the Friars, the slogan at the end. The easiest way, we're going to be at the Involvement Fair as well. That's this Sunday, I want to say. So you guys could stop by our booth and, sign up, and hopefully we can get more than 75 recruits this spring.
There you go. And, this is also admission season. Admissions decisions for early action and early decision went out about a month ago. The regular decision and early decision 2 decisions will be released in about a month from now. Any advice for incoming freshmen?
Definitely do Urban Action. So Urban Action was one of these clubs that my brother did, and he kind of told me about it. And, it's all about community service and giving back to the surrounding community around Providence College. We do a lot in the program, and you make so many good friends. Like some of my best friends now are people that I met during that Urban Action program. Don't brush it off. Just say, oh, it's community service. It was probably one of the best decisions I've made besides coming to Providence College. It was a great program. And
that's before... Just to give people a little bit of background.
Sure.
That's before freshman year starts.
Right. You move in like a week earlier, so you kind of get your bearings set on campus before all the other freshmen come in for regular orientation. You're kind of, one of 300 kids. You have a very small group, and you kind of just, work your way around that small group. And then when everyone else comes in, you kind of already have like a founding friend group, basically. It's really awesome.
So what did you do during your Urban Action experience?
So we ended up cleaning, I forget the name of it, but one of the mountains around the area. We kind of helped picked up trash, pulled weeds, just did some manual landscaping. We went to a park down the street. I forget the name of that as well, but we kind of did the same thing, clean up trash. We, talked to locals. There was some kids swinging on the swings with their parents. And they were just kind of extremely grateful. They're just saying, thank you. We really appreciate you kind of like cleaning up the streets that we live in, giving back to the community that we're surrounded.
So I guess part of the reason it's beneficial, not only from the service piece, but it really must give you kind of a leg up in terms of establishing relationships with kind of your fellow incoming freshmen.
Right. Yeah, I know. When all the other freshmen came in, I was kind of like, I knew where everything was. I felt great. I felt comfortable, especially having a brother on campus as well. So I've been here a few times before that, but it definitely did give me a leg up. I had, 15, 20 friends that were just extremely close through that program. I met half my building. I lived in McDermott Hall down the road. So it was, a great experience. Definitely was the foundation of my friend group, and it was definitely beneficial, and I recommend it to all freshmen.
I'll tell you, there isn't anyone that I've ever met who has done Urban Action who doesn't speak in the exact same terms you're speaking right now. It really is a beloved program.
It really is.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Hey, anytime.